Okay, welcome back to Full Self-Driving Beta. Really, this is hopefully one of the very last videos before version 9 comes out, but we've been saying that for like 3 months now or something crazy. So my intention here is to do more uncut long videos. However, my GoPro does like 14-minute clips, so I'm just going to upload it in multiple parts, but they will be immediately... okay, we are clear here. It took us a little while to get in the road. Like, it was very cautious and patient. It could have went like 5 seconds sooner than it did out on the road just now. Anyway, so my intention is I'm going to record each segment on my GoPro, and then I will stop the video and then start a new one right away. Reason being, I'm just too cheap to pay for Adobe Premiere subscription or whatever. So I have some free software and it's like 720p, really low resolution. So my intention is I'm just going to upload uncut drives, like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, something like that, within the constraints of the time limitations on my GoPro camera. So real quick, let me describe what I'm doing. This is my daily drive to work that I do every single day. So I'm going to know pretty much when it's going to fail. For example, I'm probably going to have trouble getting into this turn lane here. Yeah, a little weird swerve. So disengagement there. So my point I'm trying to make there is it's consistent. So it consistently has trouble at that issue right there. And we're a little bit past the stop line, probably about 3 or 4 feet past the stop line. Actually, the stop line's kind of back about by my passenger seat behind me. So I'm a little bit past the stop line, which is kind of weird. Makes me look pretty sloppy as a driver. Anyway, so I had a disengagement there. That was predictable. We're going to have another one up here in another half mile or so, where most likely it's going to deviate out of the lane, and I'll take over there also. All I'm trying to do is make the point that it consistently has issues in certain very specific areas. I've done this drive probably over 100 times on Full Self-Drive Beta, and I disengage every time, so it should be triggering and flagging that data. Okay, here we go, green arrow. This should be just fine. Nice and cautious. Looking for a little bit of torque on the wheel there. Nice turn. Okay. Yeah, so I pretty much disengage every single time at these scenarios, so it should be triggering and sending back the exact snapshot of that location every single time. Like, I'm talking like 100 disengagements on these specific places. And the one that's coming up here, it kind of boggles me because it's extremely easy. It's just straight, and there's lane lines and everything, but for some reason it wants to dive into the turn lane, even though the nav doesn't have a turn coming up or anything, but for some reason it's most likely going to want to dive into a turn lane. Okay, so that was kind of an oversized load there. The car did slow down. Some would call that a phantom braking. However, it wasn't a phantom braking because there was an oversized wide truck there, which is the reason that it was braking. So it wasn't a phantom brake, it was an unnecessary braking event. So anyway, so this lane here, this turn lane, most likely we're going to dive towards this turn lane. Here we go. Yep, dive towards it, and I'll disengage. Okay, so I told you that was predictable. That was going to happen. So this software is extremely, it's consistent, it's predictable. So yeah, I saw that was going to happen. And that's the thing, once the software is out there, hopefully version 9 is better and doesn't have those types of issues. But even if it did, as long as you're super cautious, which you should be at all times, you're going to pick up on these things and you're going to learn how the software behaves. And it's a super awesome, amazing driver assistance feature at this point, even with these types of errors. Like, I know what's going to happen. I just like regular autopilot, you know, sometimes there's issues there where it's predictable, like, oh, it always fails here, and you're ready for it, and you're like, and most of us who are into this type of thing kind of nerd out and say, I wonder if it's got better. You get a software update, and you're like, I wonder if it fixed this problem, and then you go through and like, oh wow, it still has a problem, or oh, it's fixed. Same thing here. That's why I'm excited for V9. We'll see how that does. Anyway, yeah, so I have another podcast kind of queued up for us here. Dave Leon Investing with James Dauma. I think a lot of people have watched that. Super awesome interview, very knowledgeable guest, and a lot of good information. So I'll play that kind of intermittently and then sprinkling comments as I see fit. If you haven't checked out this podcast, definitely look it up. It's not really a podcast, but just a YouTube video. Look it up. There's a whole series that just came out this past week. It's lots of really good conversation and information. So before I start that though, lane ends merge left, so this van on my right, which you probably can just now start to see, okay, they did the right thing and they kind of zoomed up. We kind of had a gradual acceleration. I'm not sure if that was to allow them to be more aggressive to get in front of us, or if it's just the way it was. So here, that's worse than normal. So I'm going to, I don't know how long this snapshot is. Like, I'm not sure if it's 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds. I probably could have tapped that to kind of highlight that wavering since I didn't disengage. That's worse than normal at that place right there, which kind of goes to show how there's a lot of variability in the software. There's variability in that, and here's another one where it kind of dove there. I'll just snapshot that because it kind of dove. I probably should have disengaged, which I think is kind of a harder trigger for someone to take a look at it. But once again, that's very strange because the lane lines are extremely well defined. It's just odd that it does that. And if I were to take this off beta mode and go to production software, it would have cruised through there just perfectly. So the beta has some weird quirks like that, which is why you have to be super vigilant. Because it won't as reliably track straight between the lines as production autopilot, which it needs that freedom to deviate outside the lines in order to complete the driving task. But regular autopilot's really good about staying in the lines. This one on purpose isn't, but sometimes it makes funny decisions that don't make sense. So, okay, next little thing up here, eventually I'll get to the podcast if I run out of things to say. It splits out here into 2 lanes. We want the right lane to turn right. It's gonna not hug the right line. Like, it's gonna swing a little bit left and then correct. Not a huge deal, not supernatural, not super smooth. And if there's someone behind you who's aggressive, they might try to nose in because they think you're going left. I've seen that kind of cause issues before. Okay, so we have a red light here. Traffic from the left. More traffic from the left who's turning. Right turn on red is always optional. It's never mandatory, right? So, this guy's going through, another one going through, another one after this one who's turning. That traffic just kind of blocked us. I have a UPS truck behind me. He's on the clock, so he shouldn't care too much. Okay, here's a van. This is the last one. And it's clear now, if it goes. Okay. I didn't intervene there. The light turned green, which is why it was more aggressive there at the end. So super cautious. Super cautious. Let me cancel this, and this is what I do every day. I cancel this, and then okay. That's a weird bug where if you're kind of in the middle of navigating, so I'm steering manually now. If you're in the middle of changing your navigation, it will do something kind of weird like that. Person there, so I'm still driving. I'll let it figure itself out. I don't blame that on full self-drive beta because we were kind of in the... It's still a bug of some sort. But since we canceled navigation, sometimes it does that. It's definitely a bug. It's not... I don't think it's the right thing to do. But it's not specifically related to... if I wouldn't have done that, I think it would have kept tracking just fine. Anyway, left turn here. So we have a protected arrow. Nice dive into this turn lane, protected arrow. These visuals here, I'm eyes outside, paying attention. But previously, I've been stopped at that light on red. This is just very smooth how it does this every time. This is worse than normal. That's worse than normal. Normally, it like keeps the speed up and just goes through the turn. Anyway, these visuals here are fascinating because I've been stopped at that red light before and just looked at the screen. And the neural networks are looking out, seeing the scene, and projecting what it thinks is out there. Well, from that vantage point, you can't exactly tell what the intersection looks like. So on the screen, it draws 2 lanes. So the traffic going from right to left, it'll draw 2 lanes, when in fact it's only 1 lane with like kind of a middle area that's painted out in yellow. But it thinks there's 2 lanes there, which is a totally reasonable thing to think if you've never seen it before. And then as you go forward and the cameras get a better angle, it sees the actual layout of the intersection and draws in, okay, it's 1 lane with this yellow area. Here's a person up here. I'm gonna see how this does without, so I'm just gonna take over. It did beep at me. He kind of gave me a look and there's traffic. So this is a good snapshot area here. The reason I took over, and and I do that almost every single time I come across a cyclist or a pedestrian, is because I'm a cyclist and sometimes I'm a pedestrian, right? I pretty much always take over. I don't think the car's going to hit them. If it did, of course, I'd take over also. But I just want to send a trigger out like, hey, get over sooner, get over further. Okay, this is actually different from how I normally come to work, unfortunately, because I was going to show something up there. But anyway, that was fine. Okay, so that's different. Normally I go through that intersection straight through, but that also worked. I might kind of force it to go back the route I had intended, just to kind of show off what I was going to show off. Okay, so we have a left turn arrow, or left blinker on. There was a pickup truck right here who is not depicted on the visualizations, but it did wait until that truck was a safe distance behind us. We kind of had a little bit of acceleration on him. So it wasn't depicted, but I think it saw him because it was deconflicting for it. So anyway, this is a way I normally don't come, so we'll kind of see how this works. It's a double left turn here. It's going to be a little bit sketchy, I think. It's probably going to kind of split the middle here and be... Okay, that was fine. A lot of times it's indecisive, where one lane turns into two. A lot of times it's indecisive if it wants the left lane or the right lane. I've seen a lot of times where it says, it goes like, oh, left lane, and then it's like, no, I want the right lane. And it's like, no, I actually want the left lane. So it does this weird like S-turn swerve to find the lane that it wants to be in. That was fine though. So we have a double left here. You can probably see this blue truck on camera. Typically we do okay in this double left. It does have a decent line painted. I have some double lefts where it struggles. This one I don't think it typically has too much trouble. We have the jump on that guy. It's on the turn. Very comfortable. Good. Here's a database error. Watch, 30. We want to go 45 because there's a speed limit sign. And of course it reads it and it changes it, but it's a database issue on that small little segment of road right there. Okay, so let me actually force it to come down here. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So I'm going to force it to come down here and try to show you what I was going to show you. Okay, it's light traffic. We have a turn lane. Okay, very nice. Okay, no traffic coming ahead. See a person, you would just say, there's no traffic, I'm going to go. Here we're a little bit more cautious. We didn't stop. Very slow, very gradual turn. Nothing too wrong with that. Okay, I'm just going to come. See, another kind of database issue. Most people just go straight to 45 here because you can see the sign in the distance. But we hit the sign and now we accelerate to 45 plus a 5 mile per hour offset. So, okay, we'll let this thing go out here. I think we've been driving for 18 minutes. Huh. That means that most likely the GoPro has overwritten itself. Actually, no, I think that's from the time I got in the car. It doesn't take that long to get to work. So what I'll do is I will get up to here and then I'll restart the camera for kind of a clip 2 because I think we're probably still running on the first clip. Just up to the stop sign. So we'll stop up here and then I'll manually do kind of a U-turn in order to have it come back this direction towards where we're coming from now. So I'll actually do that now. So autopilot is off and I'm going to shut the video off and restart it. There's no traffic.